Hi, welcome to Love the Movie Troy. This is Troy, and this is the channel where we talk about movies. So look, check me out. Now, I'm here to talk about Justice League, the Snydercut version. You know what I mean? Like, look, listen, at this point, everything on the internet has been all good, bad. You just heard a bunch of shit about the Snyder Cut, but mainly positive. And I'm sure anything you want to know about the Snyder Cut, you've heard at this point. But I'm just here to really not review the movie, but just give my opinion on certain topics that has been going around on the internet, and just giving my thoughts on it. But I will give let me give my brief thoughts on what I thought of the movie. Personally, the Snyder Cut Justice League movie is good. I enjoyed it. It's quite good. I had fun. I grew up a Justice League lover, and it's just good to see Justice League get done right. Snyder gave justice to Justice League. No pun intended. But yeah, man, this shit was fun. I just had a good time. I just watched it in the 4-hour glory. Like, oh man, this shit was so fun. You know what I mean? It's not a perfect movie. It's not the Dark Knight of comic book movies. It's not, I don't believe it's like a top 10 comic book movie or nothing like that. But it is a very fun movie. It's a very good movie as well. And this is a huge win for Zack Snyder. And I'm glad that he's getting love. I'm glad and I'm proud of him. I think he really did put his heart and soul in this movie, and you see it throughout the movie. And I had a lot of fun. All of the characters are fun. All of the characters are charismatic. Like, you forget one thing about the 2017 version of the Justice League movie was that, as bad as the movie was, the characters always worked for me. That's the one thing Snyder got right with this movie. Everyone that was cast perfectly. Jason Momoa as Aquaman, Ray Fisher as Cyborg, Ben Affleck as Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Like, everyone brought it, man. My favorite character in the movie is Flash. He's just funny as hell. Ezra Miller, he really knocked it out the park. I mean, every character brought it in the 2017 version. So coming into this, it's almost a reminder that, like, oh man, these characters are so damn good. Like, and they even fixed Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf was atrocious in the 2017 version of this movie, and now he's a really good villain. Like, they changed him from being like a terrible video game, cartoonish, corny ass villain to being a badass, scary, monster-looking motherfucker that will slice you in half. Listen, the rated R helped this character more than any other part of the movie. Like, the rated R, I felt like was needed for Steppenwolf, because you see Steppenwolf literally cutting motherfuckers in half. Like, it's like, oh snaps, like, it was savagely, and it creates this level of tension. And you kind of could feel like, oh man, you're kind of scared for some of these characters. And then they gave him a new design. He looks badass, and so they took him from Steppenwolf from being like a C- villain to maybe like a BB+ villain. It really was a huge improvement there. But yeah, so that's just my quick rundowns. Again, not a perfect movie. I had problems with it, and I'll probably get to that at some point in this video. But I just wanted to discuss and address certain things that are being said out there, and just give my opinion on what I think of them. The views came in, I think it was like 1.8 million views in the first couple of days or something like that. And a lot of people are taken aback how Wonder Woman 1984 got more views than Justice League the Snyder Cut, and some people are saying that, oh, it's overhyped, it's not as successful, it's not as huge of a hit as people trying to make it out to be, and blah blah blah. Now listen, here's what I think about that. Look, Wonder Woman 1984, I didn't like it. It was trash, in my opinion. I'm just being real, right? And so people are like, well, how is this movie more successful than Justice League? You got Wonder Woman by herself. How is it more successful than Justice League? Well, context. You gotta put context behind everything. I always say numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the whole truth either. Now, one of the things you got to realize is that this movie is a 4-hour movie. 4 hours. Wonder Woman 1984 isn't 4 hours. I don't know how long it is. It's 2 hours and something, but it's not 4 hours. And the thing is, that can always hurt your views. You know, when something's 4 hours long, you got certain people that's like, oh, I'll watch it next week. I don't have time. Or you got certain people that watch, you know, certain parts of it and then watch other parts of it at other times, right? When you have a movie that's a regular paced time, you know, people are watching straight through or whatever. Not with a 4-hour movie. I know a lot of people that wouldn't even give the movie a try because they know it's 4 hours. Like, oh, I'm not about to sit through 4 hours. You know what I mean? So it's 4 hours, right? So you always gotta put that, you know, in context there. Also, you know, you gotta realize that this movie has came out already in 2017 and it was bad. Right? So you have a lot of people in the world that is like, okay, I'm not going to watch it. I already watched that movie and it sucked. I'm not going to watch Justice League, you know, now that it's some longer version of a movie that sucks. A lot of people don't realize that this movie now is a whole new experience. Like the hardcore Snyderverse fans and stuff like that, of course they expected it to be a different movie. But the average person, they're like, I already seen the movie. I didn't like it. I'm not about to rewatch. Matter of fact, it's already on HBO Max. Why would I watch this version now? It's just a longer version of the movie. And so a lot of people wouldn't give it a try. Now, a new movie coming out, a lot of people will be more willing to give it a try because they thinking that it's a new experience, right? So for a movie that's already came out to do them type of numbers or whatever, you know, that's pretty impressive to me. A movie that's already came out that is bad, I might add. Like the movie in 2017 movie was trash. It sucked. In my opinion, it's maybe like the worst movie in the DCEU, other than maybe Suicide Squad. So, like for that movie to re-come out and do those type of numbers, you know, to me that's impressive with it being 4 hours long. So it did better than Falcon and Winter Soldier by like 50,000 views or whatever. But again, man, 4 hours compared to 40 minutes. It's a lot easier for people to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, and it still did more numbers than Falcon and Winter Soldier. So listen, you know, when this movie came on HBO Max, it crashed the server, right? So this movie is wildly successful, and don't let like these numbers fool you. You know, besides 1.8 million views is a lot. So like, let's try not, you know, let's not hate on the movie in terms of that. You know, I think this would have been a huge box office success if it came out in theaters. Of course, it wouldn't have been able to be 4 hours long, but yeah. So there's that. Another topic I want to discuss is the length, the 4 hour runtime. Now, a lot of people are saying the movie is too long. You got some people saying that it shouldn't have been 4 hours. Listen, to a certain degree, I agree, right? I don't think this movie needed to be 4 hours, right? But to complain about it is where I have a problem with people, because it's on HBO Max. It's on a streaming service, right? I really think these streaming services are starting to blur the line between movies and limited series, because when you watch a limited series on Netflix or on Hulu or any of these things, no one cares about the runtime because it's a television show, right? You binge watch it. A lot of people binge watch it all the way through. You know, now what's the difference between a movie being 4 or 5 hours? You binge watch it all the way through, or you could stop and start it if you want to, right? So I think this movie is 4 hours long just because of that. Zack Snyder took advantage of the fact that, hey, I'm putting a movie out on HBO Max. It's a streaming service, and it can be as long as I want it to be, right? I don't have to deal with theater change not allowing it. I don't have to deal with the studio not allowing it, you know, because when a movie comes out in theaters, people have to sit in the theaters. No one's going to sit for 4 hours long. So I think if Zack Snyder had to put this movie out in theaters, he would have dimmed it down to at least 3 hours. Like I think his vision, he could have made this movie with his vision in a 3 hour runtime. But he was like, hey, what the hell? I'm going to put everything in this. I'm going to make new scenes and put it in it. Like, he's literally adding new scenes to a movie that was already like 3.5 hours. So you could tell he just did it on purpose. He took advantage of the situation, you know. So, yeah, there's scenes I would take out. Yeah, I don't feel like this movie needed to be 4 hours long. And yes, I'm one of the rare people that didn't like the epilogue stuff. I didn't like, Martian Manhunter appearing at the end. The CGI looked terrible, and it also didn't make sense for Martian Manhunter to appear at the end, because it was like, well, if you're the general from Man of Steel and BVS, why the hell you didn't help out in Man of Steel and BVS? And why would you come at the end of Justice League after the world literally almost got destroyed, and then come out? And it's like, what the hell? Are you serious, bro? Like, literally the world ended. Flash just had to reverse time, to save the world. But the world ended and you wouldn't have helped? To me, that was goofy for Martian Manhunter to appear at the end of it. And I didn't like the desert scene and stuff. I liked the back and forth between Jared Leto's Joker and Ben Affleck. I thought that was kind of cool, and you need that Batman and Joker just having that scene. It just felt glorious. But the overall, teaming up with Deathstroke and teaming up with Joker, the thought of that is ridiculous. To me, it's such cliche at this point for Superman to be the bad guy, and he appears and it's like, oh, he's gonna kill everybody. It's like, why does Superman always gotta be a bad guy and stuff? Like, I just personally, I'm getting sick of that. It's not that I have a problem with that idea. I'm just getting sick of that being overly used. It's like, people would prefer Superman to be a bad guy instead of be a good guy or something. Like, oh, he works better as a villain. No, he doesn't. So I just didn't really like, the post-apocalyptic world they were doing. I just, it felt tacked on. It really did. It felt like the movie's over, we good, and now let me just add a scene with no context or nothing, But yeah, I went on a little bit of a tangent. But yeah, so I do feel like the movie didn't quite need to be 4 hours, but I don't understand someone complaining like, oh, it's too long. Well, was WandaVision too long? No, because it's a limited series. Well, this is a movie that kind of plays like a limited series. It's even chaptered or whatever. So for me, it was like the more the merrier. I was glad it was 4 hours long, So that's just my opinion. If you bitching about 4 hours, it's like, go watch a movie in theaters. It'll be a lot quicker. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Now, I think I'm gonna bring up the topic that irritated me the most. Hearing this, I had a friend of mine bring this topic up on a podcast that we do on Mondays, and it's called Ready Play Movies. And I've heard it like other people say it as well, and it's so stupid to me. No offense to anyone, but this notion that, oh, the movie took too long because they had to develop characters, and they should have done that in other movies so it could get this movie going. Like, this movie was not moving fast enough because they had to develop the characters that they should have developed in their own standalone movie. Listen, that shit is ridiculous. All right, now look, Marvel, we all know Marvel did a bunch of standalone movies leading up into their Avengers movie. That was their strategy. It worked. It was fun. It was something revolutionary. It was something that was new, and it worked. It really worked as a marketing strategy for them, because no one knew who none of the Avengers were in terms of the world, in terms of the masses, right? No one knew, other than outside maybe the Hulk, who a lot of these characters were. So they did a bunch of individual movies to get people introduced to these characters, and then they did a big crossover event, and it was amazing, and you had Avengers, right? But that doesn't mean that is the blueprint to how you do a superhero movie now. Like, you don't have to do a bunch of standalone movies and then they have to come together as a team, just like Avengers. But what annoys me about that idea that every, character have to have their own standalone movie and then team up. The reason why that annoys me so much is because it's like, since the history of filmmaking, you introduce characters in the movie that you're watching. You introduce the characters and they get developed in the movie. You don't have a standalone movie for each character that you introduce in an ensemble film. Right? When you watch Pulp Fiction, it's a shit ton of characters in that movie, right? You don't do a standalone Jules movie, a standalone Butch movie. You don't do that and then they come together in Pulp Fiction. No, that's not how it works. You introduce the characters in the movie, right? Any ensemble film that you could ever think of, you introduce a shit ton of characters and give those characters backstory in the movie, right? Like that's a part of the difficulty of storytelling and making movies, that you have to find time for all these characters and have to be coherent and make sense and developed in the movie. All right, so this notion that, you know, oh, it was too long because you had to give the characters, you know, somewhat origin stories or character development, it's like, that's what movies are, and that's what this movie needed. It needed more heart, more character. Like, that wasn't something that was tacked on. That was something that's necessary in filmmaking. You know, so a lot of people, I think they don't either understand how filmmaking works, or you just want Marvel to be copied. You want Marvel 2.0, and you don't know anything else other than the Marvel way of doing things. And Marvel is genius, and they do the things the way they do it. But if every superhero studio tries to copy Marvel, they're gonna fail. You have to do what you do. You have to do what your strengths are. You know, and I honestly think DC has been so much more successful just doing their thing, just saying, fuck it, you know, let's make movies. Let's make good movies. And they've been more successful doing that. When they were trying to copy Marvel, they were taking L's or whatever. So I just disagree with that whole concept of, oh, Cyborg needed his own movie instead of having his origin story in this movie. No, he didn't. So that's just, I don't know, that's just my opinion on that. And lastly, this one's probably going to be the big controversial opinion, but a lot of people, now that Snydercut came out and it was successful and it was fun and a lot of people enjoy it, I think this is the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes for Zack Snyder DCEU movies, and a lot of people are like, well, continue the Snyderverse. We want to see, you know, this movie's left on a cliffhanger and people want to see what happens next. And I personally think Warner Brothers is doing the right thing by moving on from Zack Snyder. I honestly think they're doing the right thing. Now, a lot of people are mad at Warner Brothers. They're like, oh, why aren't you continuing the Snyderverse? Listen, while Zack Snyder did a good job on this movie, and I adore Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel is a cult classic because a lot of people are, I think, like that movie now. When it came out, a lot of people didn't. But you could tell how many people want Henry Cavill to come back as Superman. It shows how much a lot of people have come to love that movie and whatever. But the reality is Zack Snyder isn't a great filmmaker. He's not a bad one. I don't think Zack Snyder is a bad filmmaker. Some people try to act like Zack Snyder is a bad filmmaker. I don't think he's a bad filmmaker, but I don't think he's a great filmmaker either. And I no longer want the success or failure of the Justice League movies to be in the hands of a filmmaker that's just okay, right? Like, I want great filmmakers involved with these movies. When you put great filmmakers in the director's chair, you get great results. You know, you got Matt Reeves directing The Batman. That's why I'm excited for that movie. That's why I'm sure that movie is going to be good. Matt Reeves is a genius. You got James Gunn directing Suicide Squad. That's why I'm excited for that movie. That's why the trailer dropped and it looks so good. You know what I mean? You had Joker, Todd Phillips directing Joker. That's why that movie got nominated for 10 Oscars, right? So it's about the guy behind the chair. It's not about the movie itself. It's about who's making the movie, right? So a lot of people are on the Zack Snyder bandwagon now until he makes Justice League 2 and the movie sucks. You see what I'm saying? So, as much as I like Zack Snyder. I'm not hating on Zack Snyder, but Zack Snyder problem as a filmmaker, I think it's almost like he's a little boy, you know, making movies. He enjoys the fun aspect of making movies, right? But I think sometimes he sacrificed character, logic, and story to force in some things that would be cool to see in a movie. Now, we all want badass, cool shit in movies, but it has to make sense and it has to be in context of what's going on in the story. You can't just force things in movies. And I think that's been his problem, you know, when it comes to these DC films. I think, like, I look at, like, Batman v Superman. Doomsday shouldn't have never been in Batman v Superman, right? They created plot holes just putting Doomsday in Batman v Superman. You see what I mean? But I think Zack Snyder didn't think about that. He didn't think about story and all of that stuff. He didn't think about like how this can affect or damage the movie as a whole by putting this character in the movie. He thought, well, I want Superman dead, and Doomsday is the guy that did it in the comics, so let's force Doomsday in this movie. Even though it doesn't make sense, and even though it's going to cause plot holes, I'm not thinking about that. I just want to have fun doing this, right? I feel like he did a little bit of that in Man of Steel. Again, I love Man of Steel. But at the end, it just got to be about a bunch, like someone playing with Legos and just boom, crashing into this, boom, crashing into that. Like, you could see the little kid in him as a filmmaker. Like, it'd be cool to see the bunch of shit blowing up and destroyed, but it's like, wait, what, let's stay focused here, or even like I just mentioned, putting Martian Manhunter in the movie. It's like, yeah, it's cool to see. In theory, like, I want to see Martian Manhunter, and in theory, it's cool for the General to be Martian Manhunter, but you have to really pay attention to everything when you decide to make a decision like that. Like, okay, where was Martian Manhunter in Man of Steel when Superman is fighting these Kryptonians that's taking over and literally about to terraform the Earth? Where's Martian Manhunter? The General's right there. Why didn't he help? Where was Martian Manhunter in Batman v Superman when they're fighting Doomsday? He was right there. He was in the movie. Where was Martian Manhunter when the Justice League is having to face Steppenwolf and the whole Mother Box thing is about to destroy the Earth? Where was he? But then you show up at the end of the movie? Like, it didn't make sense. But again, I don't think Zack Snyder thinks about that. So those little details, I think, is what stops him from being a great director. Like, he's really good at visuals. He's really good with tone. He's really good with certain things, but he just loses focus, And the reason why I think Justice League is probably the best movie he's done so far is because he doesn't lose focus in this movie. It's like he's always caring about character. He's always caring about the story for the most part. And I think that's why this movie worked the best, right? Other than the little things that I mentioned, but overall, he kept his eye on the prize. He just stayed focused, and then you had a very coherent and fun, faithful movie. And so I personally don't want to see Zack Snyder continue on. Do your own thing. I want to see stuff Zack Snyder has planned, movies he's written, or new graphic novels he want to adapt. I want to see other things from Snyder. I no longer want to see Snyder doing... We understand what his vision is in this world, doing comic book movies with Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. We understand his vision. We understand his storytelling and stuff like that. Let's give other directors and stuff a chance. I mean, and it's no different from Marvel, right? You had Joss Whedon do the first Avengers, and you had him do Age of Ultron. All right, then they moved away from him. Then you got the Russo brothers to come on and do Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, all those stuff. But, it's good to change it up a little bit. Change it up. Let's not have one guy make all of the decisions and we have to live with those decisions. Let's have other filmmakers and other talent come in and do fun stuff as well. And I think they've been successful. Warner Brothers has been successful ever since they decided to move away from Zack Snyder. So again, I like Zack Snyder. I like Justice League. I like Man of Steel. No disrespect to Zack Snyder, but I just don't feel like he's great enough as a filmmaker to continue on with overseeing this universe and overseeing the Justice League movies and stuff like that. So overall, that's just my thoughts on all of this Justice League shit. This is going to be my longest video because this movie is 4 hours long, so it makes sense. You know what I mean? But overall, man, I'm so happy with what Zack Snyder did with Justice League, the Snyder version. I'm so happy because I grew up on Justice League, and I felt like for Justice League to come out in 2017 and take a L while you're seeing so much Marvel and things like that being so good and so well done, and I love Marvel as well, but I just wanted to see Justice League, my childhood, come to life and done right. And we got to get it, and so yeah, that's just my thoughts on that overall, situation. But, thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate y'all. This video's been long enough. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.